Have you ever wondered what the easiest club in the bag might be to learn to chip with? If you're a beginner, or maybe you're a more intermediate or advanced player that just wants to take things back to basic, what would make the most sense to learn all over again? Well, I'm going to show you a couple of options you have, and one of them you might not expect at all. Before we jump in, if you like this kind of content, don't forget to check out Wedge Matrix Academy, where you can go for much more in-depth lessons on every part of the short game to develop you to your maximum potential and bring those scores down. Conventional wisdom is going to tell you to play a less lofted club. I have a 9-iron in my hand. Why less lofted? Well, let's look at the reasons. I think the main reason is you can make a much smaller, more controllable swing as a beginner who probably lacks the coordination once the club gets past a certain range to get the club back on the ball consistently. And I get it. You can play it like a putt. You don't have to develop any kind of sound technique in order to use it. It's very straightforward, comes off low, rolls out quite easily. It is the classic option. I'll just nip a few away just to show you how simple it can be. Pretty much a putting stroke. Narrow stance, hands a little bit forward. Just straightforward. Not a problem. Not even looking at the hole. Just consistent, little flick, feels like a putting stroke, really short, really straightforward. But what if I was to suggest to you that if you do it this way only, as you start to develop as a player, you're going to limit your ceiling as to what you can do around the greens. So I'm going to ditch the 9-iron and get the most lofted club in my bag, which right now is a 60 degree. So 60 degrees of bounce, T-grind from ping, and it's a very different looking club. What's the issue? Well, I think fundamentally people associate this with high shots, and you tell a beginner this club is designed to hit the ball high, and what do? They start to throw the club, start to get really handsy, they can't control strike, and they start to do the things that you do not do for a stock shot around the green. You need to deliver some degree of shaft lean. You need to be hitting down to some degree. You need to be making contact with the ground somewhere close to the golf ball. As soon as you start to try and throw the club head, add height to it, especially as a beginner, and to be honest, more advanced players do it too, you start to compromise ground contact and low point control. So what I'm going to suggest you do instead is learn to hit a low shot with a 60. As a beginner, scary, right? The swing is going to have to be a little bit bigger than a 9-iron, admittedly, but don't forget, when you bring your ball flight down, your ball speed goes up. So you don't need a swing that's going to be shoulder height to get to that flag back there. It's going to be a swing that's a little bit bigger, launching a little bit higher, and a little bit more energy on the golf ball. But what it's going to get you is more shaft lean, it's going to get your contact point further forwards, and you're not going to compromise your strike. In fact, you're going to learn how to strike the ground and the ball better by doing this. Now, on the golf course, you might well want to pull out a 9-iron because you're not really adept at using this yet. But if you want to develop, you need to learn to hit lower shots with a more lofted club. Obviously, intent has a lot to do with this, right? So you need to make sure you understand why the ball goes up, why the ball goes down. Ball goes lower because the shaft lean. Shaft lean takes loft off the golf club. It also creates some degree of attack angle. So yes, this edge of the club will hit the ground more likely. But if it's in the right place, it's not really a problem. So to produce a lower flight, we need lean. You can dial in some of that by putting the ball a little bit back at address. No issue with it. Back half the stance, we're good. But when you put the ball back, make sure that this stays forwards. Don't move your hands back with the club head, because now I've kind of defeated the whole object, having the ball back in my stance. I do that to create more lean more easily, kind of assuming that you're probably not the best mover yet. We're going to go ball back, hands opposite left hip, square stance, and see what happens. So my intent here is to hit a shot that is almost as low as that 9-iron. Now I'll give you a couple of tips to make life easier for you. Right, as you can see, that launched just a little bit higher, but it had more landing control, more spin. Swing was a little bit bigger, of course, had to be, but it wasn't enormous. I think we can almost kind of throw out the argument that you need more consistency through a small swing by using a much less lofted club, when you can produce a similar flight, similar energy on the golf ball with something more lofted with better impact conditions. So ball back half, hands opposite left hip. My intent here is actually to try and hit the ground slightly ahead of the ball. Odds are I actually make contact at, maybe even still marginally before, but it's not significantly before, and I'm keeping lean on the golf club. I think as long as we frame this as you're trying to hit a low shot with a high lofted club, you'll start to deliver and strike the ball more crisply. Because I've gone from 9-iron to lob wedge, the flight was up just a little bit, the swing hopefully wasn't enormously bigger, and the strike was much, much sharper. And when I mention the ceiling, well, what am I talking about? Well, if you only have a small swing of the 9-iron, it doesn't really require you to produce impact conditions that are appropriate and helpful. How do you then transfer that into a more lofted club to get the ball to do different things, to get the ball to check up more, to strike higher flights more crisply? It's hard, because with this, I mean, honestly, I can take this 9-iron and I'll flick one that way. I can take this club, have a little flick at it, and it's still going to come out low. All right, dunched it, came out low. I don't have to work to make this club do what it needs to do, which is great on the golf course. But if I want to develop as a player, I need to understand how to make the club do what I need it to do positionally. So go back to the 60. That's all right, I'm going to maintain the same attack angle. Still going to try and strike up. I'm going to hit a little bit higher. I can still put the ball back half. I can open the face just a little bit, still lean the shaft forward, still the same stuff. Still hit down on it and flight it a little bit higher, more spin. So if you want to learn to strike your short irons around the green better as a beginner, intermediate, advanced, whatever level you are, look at 9-iron or pitching wedge or gap, whatever it is, as a strategic decision. It's something you do on the golf course when you have to get the ball close to the hole, because ultimately the scorecard does not care. But for your development as a player, learning to hit lower shots with a more lofted club will only make you strike the ball better.